it was like a kid who hit their growth spurt early, who was
Yep.
like the biggest. He bullied everybody. He pushed everyone around. He was so bad. He just kind of walked and strutted. And then we all, you know what? We got to high school and we came back from summer break, and everybody grew a foot and you didn't grow at all.
Welcome to another day, another 12 to 15 inches of white fluffy stuff here in Minnesota. So if I don't seem quite as excited, it's because I'm absolutely am not. It's kind of funny. We had like two waves of storms come in. The first one was like, oh, this is so dumb, panic. And then I woke up this morning and I can't distinguish. And I'm out in the country, so I got a couple of acres here. I can't distinguish where my yard and driveway are, the road. Like it's just one
Yeah.
big whitewash of fluffy white powder everywhere. I don't think we got plowed out where I live until almost noon. So we didn't even get mail. The mail truck couldn't make it through our neighborhood. So I just got a notification that said, "Nope, we're not coming in there today."
That's fair. We got so I obviously live in the city, and it was funny because here we're having the issue that there's nowhere to put the snow. So we shovel it into we have like a boulevards, like an area, a little strip of grass between our sidewalks and the street, right? So I go out and I shovel all of my snow, and I try to split it between throwing it up into my yard because I actually have a little garden area between my sidewalk and my fence. And I actually have this time today I was throwing it over the fence because if I threw it into the front, it would just fall back down on my sidewalk. So I was just heaving it up and over my fence into my yard. And then I threw it up in the little pile in the middle, and then the plow came through and pushed it up, and it came back over onto the sidewalk, and I had to go back out and try to shovel it and kind of peek it again because we've hit a solid, it's probably 4.5, 5 feet that's piled up
Yeah, I imagine.
in that area. And it's
That's
just
insanity.
it's so now we've gotten to the point where we actually have a parking restriction. You can only park on one side of the road because when we were parking on both sides of the road, they were having issues with like school buses and emergency vehicles getting down the middle. Like a fire truck got halfway down the street and had to back up and go around when there was a fire a couple weeks ago. And they're just like, yeah, nope, everybody's got to park on one side because the street has basically shrunk by like 2 feet on either side.
Have you ever heard of something called reverse shoveling?
I have not.
So reverse shoveling is when it gets warm
Yep.
and you have your snowbanks on the side
Ah.
and your driveway's clear, you throw the snowbank snow onto your hot driveway
Yeah.
as it's melting to melt your yard faster than your neighbors.
That actually makes sense.
It's reverse shoveling.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. Big,
I like
big,
it.
big event this weekend. Remember when New Zealand was all the talk?
Yeah.
They fell off the map. They became, Australia's little stepbrother again, getting picked on. And all the Aussies are flying over there to compete again
Yeah.
in a calling.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool that there's a lot of callings again this year that aren't overshadowed by major events. So there's actually, like, it's callings, like all the other callings at the end of last year were, I'm not going to call them soft callings, I'm going to call them fake callings. And I'm calling them fake callings because they got no attention. Everybody was only concerned about what the national event or the pro tour event is. It is awesome to have just straight up old callings back. I think that's a great event for a card game. I think calling is, I'm going to go out on a limb here. A calling is the best event for this game. It's better than ProQuest, Battle Hardens, Pro Tours. Yes, I said Pro Tours. Fucking better than Pro Tours. It's better than Nationals. Calling is the event. It gets the mix of all new players, old players, great players. It is the best events.
I think callings are iconic too. That's the interesting kind of juxtaposition of this game is that nationals and pro tours and all this stuff are supposed to be great, but when the game was first taking off post COVID, callings were the event. Before they ever did Pro Tours, before they ever did Nationals, any of that stuff, it was callings. You would go to the calling. And there's something about it that feels synonymous with Fab, just the way
Calling
that
to
it's
you.
the calling. It's like it just, I don't know. It's something about it that to me, I've loved callings, and I think that the only thing I see wrong with callings is that we've gotten some cool ones, and then now it seems like they're back to just doing constructed ones. And I really wish they would do team callings or sealed callings or team sealed callings, just something to mix it up and not have such a generic. Again, we talked about it last week, right? What's the one thing that Fab probably needs more than anything is just a mix of formats. It feels right now like it's CC, and then everything else is just something you have to do because they want to mix up the formats. But we went and played, Dane and I went and played in the team calling, the Blitz team calling with Robert, and it was one of the most fun events I've ever been in. It was cool to just sit down with 3 other friends who were playing in a calling together. It was a unique experience that you get to do. It was fun. Even though it was like a high competitive thing, it found this like wonderful boundary and like this like middle ground between a super competitive calling and a really fun event.
The crazy thing that I want to ask, this is a little controversial, controversial, versatile, visceral, whatever. Because you said it with the mix of formats.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps a player motivated? So now we've gone from excitement, new product. So now, like when new product comes out, it doesn't have the same, and maybe this is just me, it doesn't have the same allure that it once had. You know what I mean? Now we've
Yeah.
had tons of products. We've had some okay products, and now we have another new product coming out, which is great. New cards.
Yeah.
My excitement level obviously isn't there what it used to be, because now we're just kind of in a system. So what keeps people motivated? It's kind of a question to anybody listening. What keeps you motivated? Is it just the friendship and the bond? Is it the true passion for the game? Is it that you want to win and you have to be the best player in the world? That is your goal. Is that what keeps you motivated? I'm just curious what keeps people motivated just to keep going along, buying huge amount of product.
Yeah, it's super interesting because when you look at a game like Fab, there's definitely the competitive contingent, but it is really important to balance that with other things. And I definitely am of the persuasion that the biggest, and I mean I've said it before, but I think the biggest hurdle for them to get over is to create some alternative formats, or just to make it feel like there's something else. One of the things Fab struggles with is, in my opinion at least, the fact that Blitz is still looked at as this kind of ugly stepchild, that it's the ugly stepsister that nobody wants to play. All of the competitive players hate it, and it's really, even people who talk about it doesn't get the attention. I know like competitive players in Magic sometimes can talk bad about Commander maybe, but I think most people in Magic have a Commander deck. Even people who are hyper serious have a Commander deck, and they're excited about playing Commander. They like to play. It's fun to play games with it and find dumb combos and stuff, and it's something different and unique. And then there are so many different formats, to the point that, as somebody who doesn't play Magic, the other day we were talking about something in a group chat, and Bergie mentioned a Magic format, and I was just like, hey man, I'm not a Magic player. You're gonna have to explain what the difference is in these formats, because I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand what the different formats are. And it sounds funny, but I think that's actually a good thing, that you have to do some exploration when you get into the game, and it kind of allows you to find what's the game you enjoy, what's the version of it that you have the most fun with, how can you play it in different ways, because it keeps you coming back. The same game keeps you interested across multiple things. There's different ways to play the game and stuff. And I mean, that's my opinion, at least. I don't know how you feel about that.
So my motivation is is low right now. And I'll tell you why. One reason is the reason that I like Fab is I do enjoy the card game, but I love games in general.
Mm-hmm.
So as my personality type, I played 10 decks of Fab because it's hard for me to get held. I'm not a one deck. I'm not a one game. That's how I am. I the way my brain works is I'm all over the place all the time. So I need games that can do that. And that I'm going to segue a little bit into the main game we're playing right now is Blood Bowl, which is not a card game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hyper competitive in the sense that you're not going to chase a pro tour. The people that I enjoy playing cards with are all playing it right now. So, with the exceptions of a few, like, Cody, I'd love to get Cody into Blood Bowl. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Get him addicted to it. But my main place was a source, and then battlegrounds, and then you had a separation of people, and it's like, well, where's everybody going to be tonight? Are they going to be here? Are they going to be there? This is who I want to play with. And that kind of ruined my whole like, we had a good source group and it kind of just got blown out of the water. Whereas with, like I said, with Blood Bowl, we have different formats. You have the Dungeon Bowl, we have 11s, we have 7s, you have tournament rosters, you have star player rosters. You just have so much variability in it. I can 3D print my guys that look not like proxies. They look like the actual figures, which you
Mm-hmm.
can't do in any other game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when we printed proxies in the beginning of Fab, when we were waiting to get product or couldn't get product, they looked like proxies and they sucked, right?
Right. Yeah.
You wanted the real card. In Blood Bowl, once you print and paint a good proxy, I mean, I have a Minotaur that I love my Minotaur that I like it better than the actual real one,
Yeah.
and it feels the same. So I think once you get out of it, I think people that steadily play are one, you have a very good group of people that you play with,
Mm-hmm.
which would be for any game that you stick around with. Two is you just truly, truly enjoy the mechanics of the game, which for card games, I don't think there'll ever be a card game that I enjoy more than Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
At any
Same.
point, there just won't be. It
Yeah.
just the mechanics are so pure in the classic constructed format, which maybe if they would have had even numbers, you could have halved the amounts for Blitz so that it scaled properly to the life. That's the only problem with Blitz is it doesn't scale properly to the
Mm-hmm.
game. And I
Yeah.
know they did that because they wanted a faster game, but you're talking about a game that goes some from 5-10 minutes to it's such a weird. I don't know
Yeah.
how you fix that. I don't know how you would
I,
do that.
I
So
think I think that's where maybe Blitz needs to be just another format. Other games have formats where it's basically no holds barred, and Blitz could kind of fill that role where you don't have as stringent you make it a combo format, right? That's what the format maybe becomes. Is just it's going to be combo, it's going to be degenerate, it's going to be nonsense. That's just what you accept it to be as a format. And I think if that was what it was, then people would kind of be okay with it. But often it's framed as a good entry level thing or a good way to play faster games, but it's supposed to still be Flesh and Blood. And we've all been sold on Flesh and Blood being constructed, and constructed is such a pure, wonderful, great, amazing format that when you play Blitz, it's like, this is not the same game that I'm playing over there.
no, it doesn't
These
feel
feel
the
like different
same.
games. And there are people who will like it, there are people who are going to love it, and I think that that's where they need to just kind of reframe it. And some of that has been their own worst enemy. They just didn't know how to frame it at first, and that's small company life, right? Is that what it always is there's sometimes they said things or did things early because they didn't have maybe media people. They didn't have somebody to just like proofread a tweet. It was just somebody in the office who's like, hey, you do the tweets, and they tweeted something or they posted a video or an interview, and it wasn't all refined and perfect, and some of those early things maybe hampered them later. But I think that's where hopefully they come to this place and they find the different formats that feel good. I actually genuinely do like playing UPF as a format. occasionally and never under any sort of competitive circumstance or in a tournament. I like it as a format if I can get together, play in an armory, and then hang out afterwards and play a game of UPF because it's funny and ridiculous and there's negotiations going on. That's some of the best board games, is when you can negotiate with people around the table. That's what you want to do with it, and it's fun.
Absolutely.
But I think that there's the other opportunity where hopefully PvE fills a void where people go, I like to play this game, but I want to teach somebody. And it's hard to teach somebody where you're going after each other. There's a certain point where you hit that breaking point where some people don't want to play super competitive. That's why the difference between UPF and Commander, that's where it goes, is UPF, you're still trying to beat everybody else at the table. You're still trying to kill everybody. Nobody wins by doing their dumb combo that does something ridiculous. It's all winning by killing somebody, right? Like that's how you win. But in Commander, there are people who play like group. They love to play the hug decks, like the group hug decks, where it's like everybody's going to draw cards like crazy. Everybody's going to get extra mana. Everybody's going to make random creatures. And it's intended to be a fun, funny thing. Or they make a deck that's like they just play the negotiating role. They're like, all right, Jason, you, me, and Dane are going to play. At some point, we're going to get to a point where I can go, you know what, Jason, I can offer you a whole bunch of things, but I want you to keep me alive until I can do this dumb combo. I won't win off of it, but I just want to do it. I need you to protect me. And people get fun. They enjoy that. That's part of the fun of the game. And UPF doesn't have that. And I hope that with PvE, there's something where, you need a guy who, what is it? The Dungeons and Dragons trailer. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's a point where Chris Pine plays the character who's like and someone's like, so what do you do? And he's like, well, I make plans. And they're like, well, but we don't need you now because we have the plan. And he's like, well, if the plan fails, I'll make another plan. And they go, well, so you make plans that fail? And he goes, no, I don't make plans that fail. I make plans, and if they fail, and they're like, so why are you here? Like, if you make plans that fail, and you want somebody like that in a group, right? It's funny to have someone like that in a group who plays the lute in the background and follows you around. And when you play PvE, when everyone's cooperative, someone can be kind of a silly character and do a goofy thing. And that's okay. And it's fun and it's acceptable. And it makes it a more fun thing. But somebody made maybe the best point. I don't know if it was on Twitter this week or a couple weeks ago, but they said, if LSS makes something you can win for going to your local shop, and they do like a special PvE thing, and you go to the shop and you got to fight like a boss. You got to do like a dungeon crawl as a group. And if you go do it, you get like a prize for playing through it and beating the scenario. I'm all about it. And honestly, that would be super fun. If like you and me and Dane and Chris all talked, and it's like, okay, Saturday, we're going to go here. This new PvE thing came out. The boss looks sick. Let's go take it on together and try to take this thing down. And we're going to get some sick loot. Like, we're going to get a cool foil card that you can only get that way. Like, that would be awesome. That would be such a good way to get people to combine a new format with going into an LGS.
Right.
I'd pay
It'd
$10
be good
for
to
it.
get people that aren't me into that. I'm not a big fan of PvE in this game, but there's people that would probably be interested in that are not me.
Well, what if somebody could play as the boss, right? Everyone versus.
If I got 4 people together, there's so many board games that I'd rather play with 4 people.
Right.
Like, to me, 2 people is easy to come by to play games.
Yeah.
And so you can play normal. So like when I can get 4 people together to do one game, there's so many cool 4-player games, like the Oath game we played, or just like negotiation style games. That's something that when I get 4 or more people together, I want to play that. Unless you're doing like a tournament of some sort, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's where they can add a level of, someone piloting the boss, and it becomes like, that was what was cool about Oath, was it was all kind of every man for themselves, but we all kind of had to stick together at certain points to try and take down the boss.
Right.
maybe they can do some cool scenarios where it's like that. One, you get together with four friends, one's the bad guy, and three of you are trying to take him down, but only one of you gets the best loot.
Join me in the dark side.
Yeah. But yeah, you could be like, hey, come over here, and if I win, you win. I mean, that was yeah.
Come to the dark side, my
Come to the
friend.
dark side. Yeah. I mean, I could do that. I could be about that life.
So you had in here, who wins the calling? What hero, what player?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with winner. I'm gonna go with an Australian's gonna come in there and win.
Okay.
Because I just think it's funny.
Do you have a specific player, or you just think Australian?
Let's go with Hayden. I'll take Hayden.
You taking Hayden?
I'll take Hayden on whatever hero he's playing. I don't know what he's playing right now. I'm probably Iceland. I've actually have no idea what he'd be playing.
I don't either.
Any clue?
I'm not sure. I have no clue. If I had to guess, I would have no guess, because Hayden is an enigma. As much as he's played Kano lately, he loves to play a ton of different stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would pick Kale, but if he's on Bravo, I don't think Bravo can win.
Yeah, Bravo's in a tough spot in terms of just his ability to win a big event, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I mean, you got Matt Rogers over there. I don't know, and it's like I don't know what anybody will be on. I have zero clue what deck any person would be on, besides if we see all the top players on Icelander and Oldham, then I'm just going to be disappointed. I'm not going to watch any coverage. Honestly, that's where I'm at. If I have to watch, like, there's other good decks that can win.
Yeah.
I know there is.
Yeah.
But the tech for the top decks is there. Nobody's stretching out.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great to see some of these top players have some hidden tech in other decks, which there's other decks that can win,
mm-hmm.
and come in and win.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Or give me something spicy. Give me like a John Magnuson build of Oldham. Imagine somebody is winning on Oldham, and you just think, oh, God, another Oldham. But then you find out they're playing Channel Mount Heroic Oldham.
Right.
I mean,
that's cool. It's still Oldham. I'd like to see another.
Yeah, no, I would be too, but I would be way more interested because I would actually have a reason to see how the deck played. Like I would want to see what does the deck do that makes it worth playing Channel Mountain Heroic in. I don't know.
I'd like to see, I mean, it'd be great to see a Rhinar player do something, but they just they get so beat down by Phi. Now over there, I don't think their aggro contingent is quite as
significant
as big
Americans.
as the US.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, maybe some other decks can sneak in. I'd be curious if somebody gets really fancy with Dromai, seeing results. Now you can kind of tweak a Dromai deck to win. And there's a lot of different builds you can go with Dromai to allow her to win. So there's definitely interesting things. I'll be shocked if we see an assassin, because an assassin has more auto losses than I think we've ever seen in a deck. Like straight up auto losses.
It feels, there are some matchups that just feel unwinnable. And not like, oh, well, if a good player plays it, they'll win it. It's like, no. It is unwinnable. There's no world where you win with that deck into certain matchups. It's kind of unbelievable. I think the person I'm interested in watching, only because I've seen the social medias, I've seen the tweeters, and on the Twitterverse, I think Nick Butcher has some good juju going in, only because he had a fancy dinner with Hayden Dale, and he had a pump up workup with Mr. Giraffe himself, the tall Timmy, king of the safari. And I mean, a fancy dinner
that's going to hurt him. I saw the workout post.
Yeah.
With the tall Timmy. I think that was the tall Timmy kind of getting his head, like working too much out of him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just he's probably pushing him a little hard, and it's going to fatigue Nick when it comes to actually playing in the calling.
See,
that was
just
strategy. That was outside
the box. Maybe
that's a huge strategy.
To your point,
Tall Timmy.
See, there's the one side. So now I see two sides of this potential thing, right? Where his fellow Aussie brethren were either hyping him up. Hayden was having a fancy dinner with him and getting him like mentally focused on Fab, and then Timmy had him in the gym, pumping him up, just talking him up, talking him up, and Nick's gonna come in just ready to just crush people. Or Hayden took him out to a super fancy dinner and just overstuffed him, and he's exhausted.
Gave him the meat sweats.
And then the tall Timmy worked him so hard he's exhausted, and like round one they're gonna put Nick on camera and he's just gonna look dead, exhausted, wiped out completely. Yeah. He's gonna still be sweating from the meat, like just sweating out fancy meat from whatever restaurant they went to. It's just it's either Australians banding together or psychological warfare of the kangaroo.
They want to be the king of Australia.
Yeah, the kangaroo riders. They want to be the king kangaroo rider. They want to have the king kangaroo with the koala on their back.
Nick's the reigning Australian champ, right?
Yeah, and then Hayden was the previous one.
Yeah, there's some sabotage going on there. Hayden's like, I'm getting that back.
Yeah,
I'm going to win the New Zealand calling to temporarily take back the king of Australia.
The king of Australia. Yeah, I mean,
and rule our province of New Zealand.
Yeah,
I think it's just New Zealand folks haven't been as vocal as they once were anymore. Like I just don't hear from them, don't see them anymore.
I think what I miss, the thing I miss the most is that they talked so much trash, and then it was like a kid who hit their growth spurt early, who was like the biggest. He bullied everybody. He pushed everyone around. He was so bad. He just kind of walked and strutted. And then we all, we got to high school and we came back from summer break and everybody grew a foot and you didn't grow at all. And now Mr. Bully is looking up at everyone else. And he's just trying to be quiet. He's trying to fly under the radar, hoping that he won't get noticed. That's what it's come down to, is that Australia grew up, and America grew up, and the UK grew up. The rest of the world kind of caught up to you, and now New Zealand's just trying to play coy, like, no, we're not. We're just friends with everybody. We're just hanging out. Aren't we super cool? But Australia's kind of looking at him like, I'm going to kind of leave it alone right now, but I will never forget the swirly you gave me. I will never forget in the 8th grade when you put my head in the toilet, and one day I'm going to let you have it. It's coming for you.
So a funny thing about, pricing and cards and stuff like that. I was looking on Forge World, which is like Game Workshop. Mm-hmm. Game Workshop owns Blood Bowl. This is hilarious. So you could buy like your corn team.
Yeah.
Okay. Full team, 4 extra dudes, and 3 star players for $232. Okay.
Yep.
This is where they get you, because Game Workshop is smart. So they own the paints. They list the paints you need, and I counted them. 48 different colors they use. Here's the paints you need. There's 48 colors. Because all the shading, God forbid you use white to tone down your colors. Yep. They give you all the shades. 48 colors. So I don't want to hear people bitching about money stuff and all these companies get you. They see you coming. Oh, you're gonna need this too. Oh, you don't have a knife? Oh, we got these knives. Oh, you don't use that paintbrush. Use this. Well, you can't play with that rainbow foil. You got to have a cold foil card. It's all out to get you.
Well, and then you branch out, and you don't just want to put Phi in you just want to put him in some random red sleeves. No, get you some Phi sleeves, some actual sleeves with Phi on the back. Are you crazy? You need to get the art sleeves too. It's right. We like to believe, everybody likes to believe that it's this, that, or another thing. Everybody, this company is just, it's like, no, every company does that. And you know what? I'm not even mad at them. I don't get upset about it. They're a business. They're trying to make a buck, We can split the difference between LSS being a money-making profitable company and LSS being wizards, because Flake posted a picture the other day, and there's a Lord of the Rings set coming out in Magic, which, by the way, if Magic does anything well, it's realizing that, their brand doesn't really sell as well as it used to, but you know what does sell? Reskinning it. Just put a picture on something and say this is Frodo Baggins. And you know what? Suckers like me, all of a sudden, I don't care about Magic, but I might be interested in a couple cards. I'd take a Legolas card.
Blood Bowl cards. Magic has Blood Bowl cards
They do.
need to get.
They have a secret lair with Blood Bowl cards. I bought a secret lair because it had Arcane, the show on Netflix.
They had the show Arcane.
They have, yeah. I have this box of secret lairs. I have one open and one still sealed.
Speaking of Arcane and secret layers, are they going to do a Netflix Flesh and Blood show? Is that still a thing? I haven't heard much from it.
I haven't heard anything come out about it recently, at least. I think it seems like a lot of companies are keeping an eye on every possible branding opportunity and seeing how things are going. I thought it was interesting to me that so many people hated on the Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings prequel show, because I really liked it. Like, I love Lord of the Rings, and I thought it was good. I had zero issues with the show. I understand it's not perfect, but maybe my personality flaw, or maybe one of my greatest personality strengths, is the fact that when it comes to stuff like that, anything that costs money to make and produce that somebody else is going to make, I just have extremely low standards for. I assume the worst, and then if it's good, it's good. We've been playing Blood Bowl 3. Blood Bowl 3 just came out. It's the video game version of Blood Bowl.
Oh, good.
Everybody on social media is just ripping it to shreds, complaining about it relentlessly.
For the first 2 days.
For the first 2 days.
It wasn't even technically released yet.
Yeah, it was effectively like a late term beta project at that point, where they were just trying to get the last bugs worked out.
It was 48 hours early.
And everyone, oh, it's bad, it's this, it's that, it's everything. And I'm just sitting there playing it with the bugs or the AI being a little slow or something. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm playing Blood Bowl on my couch. I'm having a good old time. I'm just having a grand old time. I'm living my best life.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I think I just have low standards with that kind of stuff. Maybe that's my, it could be a personality flaw, or it could be one of my great personality strengths. It's the same reason that when I go to McDonald's and I buy a cheeseburger and I spend like $2 on some random burger that's on the menu because it's the cheapest thing there, I just think to myself, I spent $2 on this and I'm happy with the $2 worth of food that I'm getting. I paid $2. It's $2 quality. I'm not mad at it. I paid $50 for Blood Bowl. I get that seems like a lot to some people, and they're like, man, this is expensive. It should be amazing. But you know what? It costs me $50 every time I buy a Games Workshop team, and I got 12 teams on the game. So it was like $600 worth of teams for $50, and I can play it on my couch. So
right.
What am I upset about? What
Which also, I'm going to tell you another Blood Bowl thing. Forge World has booster boxes where you get like 4 characters that you're missing.
Yep.
The problem is they've charged the same as, it's only $10 less than a box of the full team.
I know.
It's like, it's $50 for 12 guys. And we got a booster box for you for the 4 that you're missing from your box for another 40.
Yeah.
So why don't I just buy the big one again and have a bunch of extra guys that I can kit bash somewhere down the road?
Yeah, I could use a couple Corn Gores to really round out my opportunity to play tournament monsters.
I was looking, and they have the booster box for corns, because I saw that you need some of those, and it's $36.50, and you get the 2 Corn Gores and 2 Bloodborne Marauder linemen.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe I should do that. But then I go on eBay and see like sprues of corn where I can get it, and I'm like, I could probably just buy a second box off of there that somebody opened. And
I'll be honest, when I buy corn, I am gonna buy this $232 kit.
Yeah,
and it's just gonna have everything with all the star players.
You're just gonna have everything,
except for they don't put in Lord Borak Despoiler into it.
I don't think they have one for him.
They do.
They have a model for him.
They have a model for him, Skyla,
in
the Bloodspawn. And Skyla's ability is insane. I don't know why people don't take that for corn.
Yeah, I'm going to 3D print one because I might play it for that tournament that we're going to do. I might play
Skyla?
Corn. I might play Corn, and he's like one of the ones you can do. I can also use him as the Bloodspawn, which is pretty sweet. But
So insane.
So
So
speaking of Blood Bowl and
yeah,
Fab,
you're gonna explain this because this would be
okay.
funny and Fab.
I had this week we were talking because it came up in a group chat about how Blood Bowl has tiers. All of the teams, there are 27 teams, I think now. Something like that.
30.
30 teams. They're broken into 3 tiers. Now there are a lot of tier 1s and a lot of tier 2s and a few tier 3s. But what's interesting is your best teams are in tier 1, like your most skilled teams, the most powerful teams. The next set of teams are in tier 2 that tend to win less. They kind of, and they'll move stuff around over time. And then your worst teams are in tier 3. And I thought, what if they made a format of Fab where all of the heroes were tiered, and then you got a version of Blood Bowl. So in Blood Bowl tournaments, what they do is when you sign up, they say, here's your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 packages. If you play a tier 1 team, you get X number of extra dollars and X number of skills in order to upgrade your team. In tier 2, you get better stuff, and the tier 3 teams get a ton of skills and a ton of upgrades. And I thought, what if we did that for like a Fab format or a Fab tournament where you tiered everybody? Like Azalea's tier 3, Bolton's tier 2, Dory's tier 2, and then you have your like tier 1s, and you go, you know what? Tier 1s, they don't get anything in Fab. No benefits.
Right. They're just tier 1s.
Is Fi. You're a good enough deck. Tier 2, you can either have.
Here's what I want.
Okay.
For Bolton, I want tier 2 Bolton gets 2 tokens, interactable tokens that sit up so everybody sees it. And it's both are instants, and it says draw a card.
What if? Because I thought
that's what I want.
Yeah,
twice in a game, every game I get to draw a card.
I thought
and it's an instant.
In tier 2, you want to give some sort of card draw, so you would want to do it on like a cycle. Like you don't want every turn they can't have an extra card. That would be crazy. That would be way too much. But
that's why I say tokens would be perfect.
Right. What if you did the math on the average number of turns in a Flesh and Blood game? Say it's what do you think the average number of turns is in a Flesh and Blood game?
15 to 20?
Say 20. What if every 4 turns on average you got to draw an extra card? So you started the game with 5 tokens, and each token read once per turn effect, discard instant, like destroy, draw a card. And you could use them whenever you want, but you would get 5 to use for the whole game. And that would be the benefit of playing a tier 2 deck. And then I think
5 would be too much. I think 5, like Bolton would just win.
Would just auto win.
He would auto win. That's why I think like 2 would be plenty for Bolton, because you could speed up your turn to find your combo, and then on the turn you had your combo, you might be able to make it really big, especially if you could go like via the Vanguard,
Right.
I mean, my best turn with Bolton was via the Vanguard. It was 40 damage with using the legendary and throwing her out there in an instant. I mean, it was disgusting. So yeah, if you could do that twice as a tier 2, and I think all you'd have to do is it is around card draw, right? Because if you have more cards at certain times, and if it's once per turn, you could do it on your opponent. So if Fi's about to beat you and you snap that, draw a card and block.
Yep.
So you don't die, or so that you can still fire back with your dragons if you're I think we do a tournament like that once. We just have a fun tournament with tokens, and we come based on results of tournaments is how we determine what tier every deck is.
And then you just have to figure out the tier 3 one would be the tough one. Do you do the tokens plus some life
Not
gain?
A lot. So you'd put Arachne, Levia,
Azalea probably right now.
Azalea, you said, right?
Yeah. But who else? Like, I don't know that you would have anybody else necessarily.
I think those 3 is all you would need in tier 3.
So you just have to give
them... then you figure out tier 1 and the rest are tier 2.
Yeah.
So tier 1, you would be, Fi, Oldham, Icelander. You'd have to put Kano in tier 1. You could not put Kano in tier 2
If
because
you're
he
gonna
would
do
win.
if you're gonna do the card draw as like your thing,
You
instanting, because imagine I would just every game I would just I would let you go first on your turn. I would use the instant and draw a card. I would hold all my cards, and then on my turn I would instant and draw a card, and I would just play a 6 card hand. And I would,
right.
like, whenever you drew your wildfire, you would draw the extra card on both players'
I mean, there
turns, and
wouldn't
then
be a
just kill
lot of
people.
tier 2 decks.
There wouldn't be a crazy amount. I would be interested, like,
No,
so a
like
tier 3, do you just say they get the same effect 2 times a game, but then also like an additional 5 life?
either that or you double the amount of cards they get to draw.
They get to draw 2 instead of 1.
Because if you give them 2 cards, that's like 5 life, because that's 6 life in block essentially.
Yeah.
Or it's anywhere from 4 to 6 life in just block value. And then your tier 1s, I mean, you'd have to put some decks in tier. You might have to go 4 tiers, because you might need a tier 2 that only draws 1 card, like your Viserais, your Bravos, your Dorinthias.
You could
Because if
probably
you put Dorinthia tier 2, she
Yeah.
wins.
Kano probably
But if
could
you
survive
only
in a tier
get
2. And like
What's that?
a 1 card draw for Kano wouldn't be a game breaker. It would just give him some juice against like a Fi that went super aggro.
Right. This is I want to see people's comments of tiering them up. I think
Yeah.
it would be cool to do a tier tournament.
I think it would be a ton of fun to come up with an interesting format where you get to do something and,
You
and
just have to tier them properly.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing is tiering. And if somebody finds the broken deck in the lower tier, good for them. It's like finding the broken deck in a new format anyway. So
Yeah. And
they did their job.
you just tier them up
right?
the next time, right?
Yep, yeah. So then you would tier them up based on those results.
Yeah. I've always loved doing alternate formats outside the game. When we played Destiny, when the game was at its end, but they hadn't given us the confirmation. We hadn't gotten the official, like obituary. We hadn't seen the obituary. We'd all kind of heard rumors, right? It's like when a celebrity dies, you hear the rumors on Twitter. People are talking about, they're like, hey, I heard so-and-so died or something. And you haven't seen the official announcement yet. You're all waiting for the official announcement. That was kind of where we got in Destiny for a little while, where we were all still playing. We were all still trying to go play at events and stuff, but we all heard the rumblings and we all thought it was coming to an end, but we hadn't gotten the official farewell. We sat in a really stale format for a while, and the event, so Chris Bates, who is our community guy, he, did everything for Destiny, does everything for Fab, and we got him hooked on Blood Bowl, and now he's going to do it for Blood Bowl. His thing was like everybody would run certain locations, right? He would have somebody who would be his contact point. And I was like the guy at one of the spots where I was like, I'm always reported what the winnings were, who got what records, stuff like that. And I thought, we need to mix it up. We have to do something. It's just getting so boring. So I started doing things where I said it was hero villain night. You could have one hero and one villain and make a team. And then you had to have the cards corresponding in your deck to that. So if you had a blue hero, you had to have blue hero cards. You couldn't have blue villain cards, stuff like that.
That game allowed for such fun variability more than any game ever has.
Right. And
because of that.
I think that's something where, like, Fab, there are things in Fab that you could do that are more fun. And people have worked really hard to create interesting formats and fun things to do. But it feels like one of the things holding Fab back is that it's become so tied to the competitive stuff that so many people don't have fun playing Fab anymore. Like, Fab has become so hyper competitive that there's almost a negative feeling around
I think that's
playing
the
for
issue
fun.
That's the issue what we talked about before with the XP qualifying for nationals.
Right.
It encourages the grind of a top tier deck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's what it encourages. It encourages somebody to come in because they need every XP and just come in and grind because I need my XP. I need to qualify for nationals. And I think that is one of the things that has burnt me out about the game is the people as a person who my goal was to go 9 or 10 weeks, and usually I could go 8 easily, never repeating the same hero.
Right. Yeah.
I would make a deck for a different hero and bring a different hero every time.
And I
Because
think that
that's how I enjoy to play.
And I think that not only is that how you enjoy to play, but I think there's something to be said for the fact that it creates a fun experience for everybody there because you're going to have a good time. Do you want to win? Yes. But you clearly want to have a good time. You want to enjoy yourself and enjoy the experience. You're taking the time to go play in a weekly event. It's not about winning the prize cards. It's about being around everybody, playing a deck that you're having fun playing, and just enjoying the game. And there are a lot of people that play that way. The problem is, again, to your point, there are people who just do nothing but grind and they can't have fun. They just don't have fun playing Flesh and Blood. It's only about the win percentage. It's only about the XP. It's only about the prizing. And what it ends up doing is every game, every weekly, every event has to be about winning, and people don't enjoy themselves. They don't play silly decks or goofy combos. They don't try to pull something off because you lose a game and you lost 3 XP and now you're farther away from qualifying for an event. You need that 3 XP, that sweet 3 XP, right?
Yep. And that definitely was a little bit of a turnoff to me. And I was very competitive, but at the same time, I don't need to win my armory every week.
Yeah.
That's not important. And I will say, so this is a good and a negative. The Facebook group always posts winners. So that encourages a little bit top tier deck. Not saying you shouldn't post winners, but more posting about here, like just what heroes brought. I mean, I just think there's other ways to do it. I mean, there's some people that play the same hero over and over and over and over again, and that's what gives you enjoyment. That's fine, right? Because that's what you enjoy playing one deck.
Yeah,
that's fine. I have nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you always enjoy playing the top tier deck, and that's just coincidentally the deck you always enjoy playing, then you're just grinding XP.
Right. That's where I think some stores are maybe better than others at encouraging variation. They're not always playing. It's not always constructed or always constructed with an occasional blitz. But that's one of the things where I always appreciated Battlegrounds is that they would throw in blitz, they would throw in commoner, and then they would throw in the occasional, every few months they would throw in a spicy blitz night where the winner of the night wasn't going to, the person who got the stuff or got a special prize wasn't going to be the person who won the most events. They would get, sure, cool, congratulations, you won, you brought normal Ira and you won the event. Here's your stupid cold foil. But they've got a special mat or special prizing for the person who brought the spiciest blitz deck. And it encouraged people to think outside the box, to do something more fun. And you got some of the fun of those nights. What I loved about them, at least, was sitting down across from somebody and trying to figure out what the thing their deck did. It's like, what does their deck do? Like, I have no clue because they're building a spicy, and you'd see the hero and you just never knew. I brought one night, the one spicy blitz night that I got the prizing, I flip over Oldham and people are like, oh, okay, it's Oldham. I wonder what's the spicy combo? Is he playing 0 cost Oldham? No. The entire deck was built around Flock of the Featherwalkers, Coax of Commotion, and Time Snap Potions, and I played double Winter's Wail. Everything else was like a blue ice card in the deck because my goal was to basically block, and then swing double whale. Block, swing double whale. And I was just every other turn or every third turn, I just wanted to double whale people. It was all I cared about. And it was a stupid concept, but it was ridiculous amount of
I just want to double whale you. That's all I want to do.
It was such a ridiculous amount of fun all night to like be trying to solve my own deck and figure out, okay, how do I make this happen? While trying to figure out what in God's name my opponent was doing, because they were doing something spicy too. So I didn't know. I had no clue what their spicy tech was. And I think that that's where you have to find a balance between being competitive as a game and being fun and casual. Because the reality is, who is the bulk of your buyer base? The filthy casuals. That's because there's just more of them. It's not because they buy more cards individually. Casual people buy way less cards per person than your competitive players, because your competitive players, some of them just buy like 5 cases every set to make sure they have what they want. Some of them go out and just straight buy singles of an entire class. But your casuals are the people who buy a box. Every set they will buy a box, and then every time they go to their armory, they buy 2 or 3 or 4 packs, which means that the store is buying more and more boxes to supply those pack here and there and the handful of packs. It's like the lifeline of your business is always the casual when it comes to games, right?
100%. 100%. What else we got? Got much else?
I don't think we really have anything.
Week? It's been snowing here, so all we've been doing for gaming is playing online Blood Bowl.
Yeah, they canceled the world.
Yeah,
canceled the world for a few days because it's easier.
2 days of no school, and yeah, so not much leaving home around here.
Although this weekend, it sounds like we're gonna have the playoffs for Blood Bowl.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'll be performing my playoff game against Chris, and I'm gonna have to take a completely different approach to last time, and I'm gonna have to stall out and then go for the Hail Mary at the end and see if because I'm fast.
Yeah,
I'm just very soft, and I have to kill Estelle. My goal is to kill Estelle. Chris, you heard it here first. I'm going to kill Estelle. I've killed other star players. I ain't scared. I'm gonna kill Estelle.
Well, and then Mason and Dane have their game, which is just a battle of the Norse, and
the battle of the Norse. Perfect. I mean, 2 winter teams in the middle of a blizzard. It's a great themed game.
It's also funny because it was their first game of the season. Like both of their first game of the season for them was against each other, and it was a bloodbath.
And now first playoff game. And Chris killed Dane's Yeti, and I killed Mason's Yeti. We both killed in the last game of the season, so they're both going in Yeti-less.
Yep. Which, so those kind of statements are actually one of the things that Ben talked about. There's this podcast called the Bonehead Podcast, and he talked about how that is one of the things that makes that game so good. Is so many games have a structure where you're maybe talking in a weird language, but then there are a lot of the terminology, or you're referencing people and it sounds very normal, like you're fighting against things. Blood Bowl is the only game where you can talk about the fact that you're like, well, my goblin is going to block Jason's human blitzer, and if I kill him, then I might get to their star player, but then his ogre may just throw his halfling at my guy, and he might kill my orc. My orc might die because a halfling hit him, but if he doesn't kill my orc, my bomber is going to throw a bomb and might blow up his whole line, and then I can pick up the ball and score a touchdown. And it's like, what are you talking about? And how high are you right now? Because it's the only explanation for that sentence you just said. It's good stuff.
It's good time. It's good time. Enjoy all your games.
Yeah.
Enjoy hopefully there'll be some good coverage for the calling this week. I know they had was it an earthquake out there, and
it was a cyclone. A cyclone.
Yeah. So, and they were LSS was donating a lot of money for that, so that's awesome to see that they stay involved in the community and helping out others. So.
It looks like they have a lot of fun stuff going on too, because like they're gonna do the tall Timmy. I thought it was hilarious that they're doing like the tall Timmy. You can go play him in Blitz to win a special prize, and the guy that everybody has now started to joke that he's the giraffe. They have him in the safari room. That's where he'll be facing off against people. Is in the safari room if you want to play Tim, which is pretty great.
Funniest thing I saw was James White will be at the Auckland, New Zealand calling.
Maybe crazier.
We were all shocked to see that.
Somebody posted a picture that he was playing. He played at a Welcome to Wraith sealed event, which is pretty cool.
They should let him play and put a bounty on him.
That's what I would do. If I was LSS, I'd be like, we have this special mat. If you're the one who beat a James this weekend, you get it.
Right.
You got to.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you beat him, I would like to see that kind of stuff in big tournaments, put bounties on players. And if you beat them, you get something good if they're top. But like Michael Hamilton, for every calling he's at, he should have a bounty on him. And if you beat him in Swiss or anywhere, you get a gold foil card. We're just going to give you a gold foil card.
Just gonna give you a gold foil. I mean, they should have a prize at some point where it's like, if you can, or just make it like a running prize. Don't have it be a single. If you beat Michael Hamilton, it's like, if in the year 2023, one person at major events, at events where you earn elo, can beat Michael Hamilton 2 times, they get a gold foil.
No, maybe better. If you beat him, you get put a drawing for the end of the year. So it might only be 3-4 people.
Yeah. It's just one
because
guy.
chance of seeing him twice.
Yeah, it's real
unless
low.
it's like me and you, we'll team up all the time and get faced against each other. But
yeah, his best shot is against Roger, his like training partner, because that's always how the system works. If Gem somehow knows, it's like
who you're working with.
They know who you're working with. They know your friends, and they pair you against them every time without fail. It's absolutely brutal. But the devs were playing some games. It looked like they had some cool stuff going on. Sushi Night is doing the streaming, and it looked like Kieran and Carol and some of those guys, some of the devs, are going to be on doing some of the commentary, which, I mean, Mr. Classic doing commentary, let's go.
He's my favorite.
He knows the game, and he knows how to talk about it. I'm all for it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you got nothing else? All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. It was it's under an hour, which is super impressive. We were on topic. We talked about like everything on the show notes, which is wildly impressive. We did it.
It's Dane. It's not me. Dane always blames me. It's him.
Dane always blames Jason. It's Dane. Confirmed. You heard it here first. Dane is the problem.
Yep. Dane's the problem.
Dane's the problem. Dane, don't leave us. Please don't leave us. I can't do it. I can't do it alone. I can't do all the editing and the graphics work alone. Jason's here for the talking. I'm here for the editing. Dane's here for the editing. And we're both here for some side talking. But thank you guys for hanging out. We will we'll see you. We got coming up next, we got a podcast. And the week after that, we have a spoiler for Outsiders.
Is it next week, the spoiler?
Is it next week? I thought it was a week after a spoiler.
No, next week is the 3rd, dude.
Is it next week? It's next weekend. Next weekend, I think.
Yeah. I'll be gone for all of it. I'll be in the Carolinas and the Floridas.
Yeah. We'll still have a spoiler. So we'll do our normal live stream, and we'll talk about the spoiler, and we'll share it. And I haven't seen it yet, so I can confirm it's broken. It's the best card that they've ever given anybody. It's going to break the core tenets of the game, because that's what everybody says with their spoiler. They could get. Have you
seen it?
I haven't seen it. No, I don't. I
haven't either.
I'm just saying that's what everybody says when they get a spoiler. They're like,
sure it will.
"Oh my god,
I agree.
I've seen my card. It's the best card Flesh and Blood has ever created." So, congratulations on getting Starvo and Outsiders. I guess that's amazing. They reprinted them in Outsiders confirmed. So, if you haven't liked and subscribed, who are we kidding? You wouldn't be at this point. So thank you everybody who has liked and subscribed our content. And thanks for hanging out with us. And we would love to hear your thoughts, as always, on everything. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.